right, we move on to Mr. Kyle Hurst then. And Mr. Hurst is going to present to us. Kyle Hurst is the Director of Maritime Safety and Security at Iridium, and he's going to present Iridium GMDSS for us. Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle Hurst. I am the Director of Maritime Safety and Security at Iridium. Simply put, that means I look after GMDSS. Hopefully everyone here knows about GMDSS, but in case you don't know, I will sort of give a bit of a quick highlight. What are the key components of GMDSS? 3 key services. The first one is distress alert, which is basically a data communication. It sends the identity of a vessel, the status of a vessel, such as if it's in distress, and the position of the vessel directly through to an RCC, which is obviously very important information. The second service is distress voice, which is a voice call that goes directly from a vessel in distress or having problems and goes through to an RCC at a priority level, which for a satellite system like ours and also the existing satellite system, what it means is the call has priority on the network and on the terminal. And how that works is if there was a situation where there was congestion on our network, a distress call of this nature would actually barge through all of those other low priority calls. So this would have priority and it would basically push its way through, and other calls would actually be, teared down out of its way. So this call must always get through, and it has priority on our network, which means it will go through at the cost of others if in any case there was congestion on the network. On the terminal, the priority means that if someone was using a phone line or all the phone lines on a vessel, and this priority call comes through, the terminal recognizes that it's a priority call trying to get in, and it immediately then terminates the call on board the vessel. So it gives a polite termination. It says, this call is being terminated due to a higher priority incoming call, and then it stops the terminal, shuts down the call, and then stops the terminal making any other calls until the high priority call comes in. That way, with these 2 services between the vessel and the rescue coordination center, there is basically a dedicated channel of communication passing that key information through the distress alert, but also allowing ongoing dialogue through the distress voice. So they're the 2 services that you can use if you're actually in distress. The third service, maritime safety information, is basically designed to be used to keep you out of getting in distress or getting in any dangerous situation. So maritime safety information has a number of flavors, but the 2 key types are navigational and meteorological. So the navigational information is information such as a lighthouse might be no longer working, a nav aid may have moved, or there could be some kind of obstruction, a semi-submerged container in a shipping channel. Things like that would be sent over the broadcast, the navigational broadcast, so that vessels can be aware. And also meteorological, similar, but about weather. So they do send out regular broadcasts, and they also talk about specific weather events. And I'm sure pretty much everyone listening knows about these services, but they are the key services. We do also have a number of other services. Equally important, distress alert relay is a system used by the rescue coordination center that when they do get an indication of a single vessel being in distress, they can send a broadcast over the area around the vessel, advising people in the area that there is a vessel in distress and that they potentially need vessels to provide assistance. So it does contain information and basically instructions to assist in the case of a distress or a suspected distress as well. Oops. Sorry. We also have ship-to-shore distress calling. So obviously that call with the RCC when you press the red button is important, but there is an ability to make other calls of lower level priorities and also distress when you don't press or after you press the red button. So you may have an initial call with the RCC, they may get key information to you, you then hang up, you then deal with the situation, and then you can call the RCC back at distress, or they can call you back at distress priority, or in other situations you can call it lower priority. So again, that communications line between a vessel having safety issues and an RCC. And similarly with the other two services here, the medical services. So these are short codes, and in our system, they're actually entries in a safety phone book as well. So if there was a medical incident on board a vessel, you can call for medical assistance. And that's basically a dedicated line between the vessel and medical professionals. It is higher priority than normal calls. So if a medical call needed to come through to the vessel and someone else was using a phone line, it again would be preempted. So yes, they're the services, or some of the key services that we have on GMDSS. Looking at our path to get recognized, which, you know, we talk about 5 years that it took in IMO, but in actual fact for Iridium it took about 13 years from when we first had the concept of going or obtaining GMDSS recognition. So it is a very long, but it is a very important program. So we have various stages here, the work we did at IMO, the levels of work that we did with IMSO, the GMDSS regulator. In the middle there, we're signing an agreement with them to take on the work to do the letter of compliance. And on the top right-hand corner, you can see IMSO presenting Iridium last December with the letter of compliance. And also down the bottom there, the gentleman sitting at the desk, they're our friends at Lars Trana, who've done a lot of work over the last couple of years, helping to develop, obviously, the first terminal for our GMDSS system, which is obviously very important. Looking at the actual benefits of Iridium GMDSS, simply put, it is the 3 C's: cost, coverage, and capability. So for coverage, hopefully most people know this, but with Iridium, we cover everything. So we do not have an issue covering the poles. So we cover all oceans. You do not have to worry about basically an A4 area, really, because our satellites cover everything. I will highlight, though, that because the sea areas presently are still defined by Inmarsat coverage and are until the changes to SOLAS take effect in 2024, there is still an A4 area for Iridium. But not because we can't cover it, it's just because the legislation doesn't come into effect until 2024. But once that does come into effect, Iridium, essentially, there is no A4 area for Iridium, and also the obligations to carry the HF for A4 areas no longer exists as well. But that is not a technical limitation, as I said before, it's basically a legislative limitation. Capability, we've done a lot of work, you know, not all vessels, most vessels do not have access to GMDSS voice. The main device used these days just provides distress alert and MSI. It doesn't provide GMDSS voice. I can say on all Iridium GMDSS terminals into the future, they will all have all 3 services. So we will not have that situation where most vessels don't have access to voice. We've rationalized it down to 1 button because we don't believe that mariners should have to decide whether they're going to send an alert or make a call. They press 1 button, everything happens automatically. It's not a big issue. And there's heaps of other improvements that we've made to our system to try and make the notification of issues on the ship easier, faster, but also on the shore side, presenting information to the rescue coordination centers and the SAR professionals so they can make very clear, concise decisions quickly, which is obviously very important. The last item is cost. Historically, if you wanted all 3 services, you would have to buy, excuse me, you'd have to buy 1 terminal that could do distress alert and MSI, then you have to buy a separate terminal to do GMDSS voice. The cost of both those terminals, you're looking at around possibly in excess of $20,000. With our first terminal, we're looking up to $5,000. I believe it's going to be less. So it says 25% of the cost, but it'll probably be actually lower than 25%. So obviously reducing the cost of the equipment is key. And I think it's key in a number of ways, obviously because no one likes to pay money they don't have to. But also by making it more affordable, more vessels can have this kind of equipment on, which means more people are able to contribute, to assist, to work with rescue authorities in the case of an emergency, which I think is key because, you know, most people on this call will realize when you do get in trouble at sea, the most likely person to come and help you is another mariner. So they are going to be the ones that come up and, you know, potentially take people on board or so on. So cost is extremely important in my mind. This is the first Iridium GMDSS terminal, the LT3100S. As you can see, it's quite small, compact. The antenna is sort of only about so big. The control unit is quite small. Everything is in the control unit. You can see the red button. You can see the screen for viewing MSI. Everything is there. So small, low cost, easy to install. And this is Mr. Lars Tron himself installing his own unit on his own vessel. So thank you goes out to Lars, because not only does he build this terminal, but he himself has been a great tester over the last couple of months while we've been doing some final testing for the system. And he's been, you know, on board his boat doing testing and providing key test results so we can ensure that, you know, we're happy with the way the system performs. So this is generally what you would have historically or even now on board a soulless vessel. So you've got your VHF radios, your MFHF, and a couple of your Inmarsat-C, as well as your other equipment down the bottom there. However, in the future, you could have 2 Iridium terminals. Now, obviously, because I'm Iridium, I'm going to say 2 Iridium terminals. But not only is it good for us, but it's good potentially for the mariner. Another improvement here that'll prove that point is we've automatically built in to this equipment, if you have 2 Iridium terminals, in the case that, say, the primary terminal is on the left, in the case that you were in distress and weather was rough and perhaps a piece of rigging fell down and smashed the antenna or somehow disabled that first unit, the RCC may be trying to call into your vessel to, you know, get information and, you know, to allow them to provide assistance. Now, if that terminal has been disabled, destroyed, what have you, our system will automatically recognize that and automatically pass the call to the secondary terminal. So we've built in automatic redundancy into the systems if you do have 2 Iridium terminals, so we can actually pass calls over in the case that there is an issue physically with the hardware. Also, with our new technology, our new broadband, excuse me, Certus technology, we are looking to have GMDSS capability for that. So the first terminal, the Lars Tron terminal, is a fantastic terminal, but it does have limited capability in relation to data communication. So its data speed is limited to about 2.4 kilobits per second, which you can do small emails on, but you can't do much else. However, with the Certus technology, it has speeds of up to 700 kilobits per second. So it's obviously a broadband terminal. So you can have a smaller, simple terminal, which can do commercial services, SMS, things like that, which is good. But you can also combine the capabilities of your Certus terminal, having a broadband capability, and plug in GMDSS devices to that, like a handset with a red button and a screen with a red button. Plug that all into that Certus device and make it a GMDSS system as well. So basically, all of these maritime terminals can be upgraded potentially to GMDSS. And there's going to be multiple flavors of Certus terminals. So you can see there that Thales, Cobham with their Sailor range, and Intellian will have their own versions of Certus terminals, but then also they're committed to building the GMDSS peripherals, so they can also be converted to GMDSS devices. So right now, as I said, you know, initially we'll launch with Lars Tron LT3100S, great little terminal, some commercial services, but, you know, limited on the data capability, but still a fantastic GMDSS device. But in the future, we'll have the broadband terminals, which are obviously a lot more capable in relation to data communications and can also be GMDSS. Looking into the future for Iridium GMDSS, the whole plan is better access to more GMDSS services. So voice is key in my mind. I think that if we can have all the vessels now that currently have just distress alerting and MSI to have distress alerting, MSI, and GMDSS voice. I think that will make a lot of the situations that rescue coordinators have to deal with right now a lot easier to deal with. The one button for all distress, all the testing that we've done with live vessels out in the field right now, they really appreciate that. It's, you get in distress, you press the button, you hold it down for 3 seconds, and things just happen. You know that your position is going to an RC. You can see on the display that it's been received. You can hear the call coming through. You can talk to the operator, and you can get that situation dealt with as quickly as possible. Also, we're looking at improving access to the to information for the RCCs. Right now, the way we've set it up, they really like the fact that as the call comes in, the distress alert comes on their panel in front of them, so they get all the information all at once. Global coverage, for those people that operate in polar areas, very dangerous areas, this is obviously a big deal for them. Looking again at cost, I do believe that lower cost means better access. So more types of vessels, more incidents, more information to rescue coordination centers. And I think that's the thing that people maybe don't realize. For rescue coordination centers, there's the initial indication that there may be a problem, but then a lot of the time they have to do some investigation, right? What type of vessel? Where is it? What's the situation? What kind of help do we need to provide them? So they do have to go into a period, in a lot of cases, of investigation before they can actually launch a response. However, if we can really cut down on that period where they don't have to do much investigation because they know they're there, they're in trouble, this is how many people, this is what the danger is, this is what they're doing about it, and this is what we expect to find when we get there, they can make very clear, concise decisions and launch things a lot quicker. We're also looking at improvements to the maritime safety information, so trying to make that more effective, so hopefully keep more people out of danger. But the key component here is Iridium providing an all-in-one safety terminal, small, low cost, easy to install. We do believe it'll have a good effect at improving maritime safety. So it's coming soon. We're looking at the next month or two to launch the service. We are waiting on some external scenarios, such as the MED approval of the LT3100S. But as soon as we have that squared away, we'll be looking to launch in the next month or two. So it is coming. It is going to make a difference in my mind, and we very, very much look forward to bringing this technology to the market. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Very interesting presentation. I am very impressed to hear all the capabilities and all the services that will be provided through GMDSS. And is this a result of feedback you're getting and requests and demands from the operators, from your customers, or is it something that you're developing all the time at your own initiative? As a naive question from my side. And the second, more maybe specific question is, looks like you're becoming a one-stop shop for someone, a supplier of the connectivity. And the question now is, when do you expect to have the broadband in place?
Okay. Yeah, a lot of the improvements we're making are based on the experiences that we've had, that I've had. I've worked, I've been a mariner. I've been on board a vessel. I've been in distress, so I know what it feels like. I've worked with rescue coordination centers on SAR operations, so I've also seen that side. But we also have about 10, 11, possibly 12 now, test vessels on the network. Some of them have been on for the last year, even 2 years. And we do get a lot of feedback from them, and we get a lot of feedback from the rescue coordination centers as well. I'm on calls and email with the rescue coordinators or the supervisors for the centers on almost a daily basis. So it is an ongoing process. And although we will launch with what we believe is a fantastic system, I do believe in the future there will be iterations and changes to the system to keep improvements and make sure that we're doing our utmost to contribute to improve maritime safety. In relation to the one-stop shop, yes, of course, that's our intention. I think we at Iridium, we have a fantastic network, and I say that because it is really cool. The fact that we have 66 satellites hurtling around the Earth, at 26,000 kilometers an hour. There's always one above you. They move across you every 8 minutes. It is basically a shell of satellites hurtling around the Earth, you know, like electrons around the nucleus of an atom. The Earth is spinning underneath it. And throughout that meshed network, because all the satellites are connected, we just have this fantastic communications system. And being able to apply that to general shipboard communications from the bridge, for crew communications, and also safety, I think it really does take advantage of our network. And really, you know, it's good for us to know that we can do all these things and support the maritime industry, particularly in the current environment with the pandemic. And I don't know if anyone saw, maybe you didn't, but I've been on TV recently pushing the plight of the mariners and the maritime industry in relation to global trade, and the fact that we need to keep things running. And I do honestly say that I am very, very proud that we are able to support global trade, particularly in this very difficult time with the COVID-19 pandemic, because I know, you know, that if global trade, if the maritime industry, you know, has any problems, the world will feel it. They don't realize they'll feel it, but if the maritime industry has problems, they'll definitely know about it very quickly. Sorry, I hope I answered all your questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Kyle. You're on CNN Philippines, I'm being told. Is that where you appeared recently on TV?
Oh, CNN, yes. Yes, that was yesterday, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kyle. I don't see any more questions, so we'll release you now, and